What's going on, guys? Lottery Stocks here. Today we have another GameStop video, and this is actually some DD that I did find on Reddit and I found to be useful. I didn't really read it too much, I just kind of skimmed over it. So here it is with you guys live in action. This is going to be new to me as well for you guys, so I hope you enjoy. And hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, one or the other. Or if you don't want to do either, then I appreciate you guys watching this video. And I hope you guys are staying strong apes together. Let's get right into this DD. This DD was posted by Home Depot Hank69. Not going to talk about his name. GME, it's all coming together. Apes, I come to you as a fellow primate with excellent news. My wife finally left me. Now I have a boyfriend all to myself. Wow. Before reading, I just want to express that predictions and dates should not be taken as absolute, and that these are just my opinions on what could be coming. So there you guys have it. First off, he's telling you, take this with a grain of salt. Well, actually, first off, he's telling you his wife left him and that he has her boyfriend all to himself. But yeah, take this with a grain of salt, guys. This is his opinion. And if you don't do your research, well, I guess this is the best opinion you guys have. And you may take it with a little bit more than a grain of salt. But he's advising you to take it with a grain of salt. The news: Amazon plus Chewy, XX being appointed, RC being named God of the Board, GME announcing the new search for a new CEO, GME paying off senior notes today. The announcement of GME's right/intention to sell 3.5 million shares or $1 billion in value. This may not seem important, but I'll explain why it's crucial later. And finally, the announcement of the definitive date for the annual meeting, 6/9, LMAO. He is right, June 9th. Be ready for that, guys. Let's get into this huge paragraph. Maybe I'll skip some. The past 2 weeks, okay, first of all, why it matters. The past 2 weeks have been bombarded with news from GME, and almost all of it deals with leadership or the transformation. I believe that this bombardment of news is extremely intentional. The reason that I believe this is because their announcement of the right to sell those shares, when GME made this announcement, the stock was at 190. GME knew full and well that anytime an announcement like this happens, the market would react negatively to the stock. And because GME is so volatile and the victim of abusive shorting, that negative reaction could have been huge. Despite knowing this, they decided not to sell at that moment. I deduce from that lack of action that GME believes that the stock will go well above 190 level sometime in the future, because if they really wanted to capture the value of the stock at 190, they would have just sold the shares instead of reserving the right to do so. Quick breather break. So yeah, guys, he's pretty much saying that they did not sell at 190, so they clearly think the stock is going to be higher, and they didn't sell at the dip, so they're in on it with us, whether they admit it or not. Now let's get back into this. They would have just do so. With that being said, I believe that they were actively trying to set up the stock for a massive run that could potentially trigger a squeeze so that they can capitalize on a price that is well above 190. If this wasn't their plan, then it made zero sense that they didn't just sell at 190, knowing that the announcement would tank the stock, which it did. Finally, when almost every analyst/boomer says that GME is grossly overvalued, it is irresponsible of you as a corporation not to take advantage of that extremely elevated share price unless you have reason to believe that it will attempt to make that. You have reason to believe that it will soon be substantially higher. Sorry, guys, for the mess ups. It can't be perfect, you know. Therefore, I believe that the recent slew of announcements is there because they are probably well aware that being lax about this could lead to decreased interest in the stock. To add to this, GME has repeatedly warned in the SEC filings that suspect shorting activity on the stock could cause it to squeeze. They have said this twice since the original squeeze. This, to me, seems that they are covering themselves so that they can't get sued for market manipulation if it does indeed squeeze. What's even more interesting about this is that maybe they have data that is not available to apes and other primates, suggest that the shorting activity is even more abusive than any of us thought. Once again, guys, just a theory. Quick reminder to take it with a grain of salt. catalyst. But what could the next announcement be? It is very difficult to know. The paying off the senior notes caught me by surprise, but it isn't news that would actually propel the stock to the stratosphere. I believe that their next catalyst will be something about either the CEO position or the digital transformation. GME could very well announce Cohen as the CEO, which would probably undoubtedly send the stock to the stratosphere. They could also announce something about an acquisition or something related to their shift to e-commerce again. This is simply conjecture, but I believe that GME is going to make some kind of catalyst announcement soon to push up the price. However, the biggest and most crucial catalyst could be a share recall. First, I want to stress that GME itself cannot recall shares. Only individual investors can redo that. Alright guys, what he's saying is the stock does not actually recall shares. You actually have to contact your broker to do it for you. So make sure you guys don't get messed up in that. Let's get back into this. First, I want to stress that GME itself not recall shares. Cannot recall shares. Only individual investors can do that. If only there was an investor with a ton of shares in GME who has an active interest in making the stock go higher and has tweeted cryptic messages about hating shorts and bears. Oh wait, if Cohen or another whale with a high stake in GME announces a share recall, that could be the ultimate catalyst for us. Or if the hiring for a new executive / board members requires a vote, an activist could do that. Could do what Hestia did last year and recommend that all shareholders recall their shares. See my previous detail on that. Alright. Personally, I thought that Cohen news would repel us to the moon, but I guess not. Maybe that shows more proof that the shorts are really in deep. Timing. Right before we get into timing really quick, guys. The shorts are in really deep. We know we are holding at like a floor price. The stock would barely ever break 110. And we're all holding at such a high price that since nobody is selling, the shorts cannot actually manipulate the stock back down to what they shorted it at. And that's why this whole thing is kind of stuck where it is. Because you guys probably think, well, if they can manipulate the stock, how come they can't just bring it down to what they shorted at and then just buy back? That's the reason. All right, now timing. The timing on this, the timing on the possible above mentioned catalyst could not be more perfect. First, our Lord and Savior Mr. Gill's call expired this Friday. At the same time, GME is forming what many are calling the mother of all wedges on extremely low volume. The apex of the wedge should be this Thursday or Friday, but could get pushed back to sometime next week if we still trade sideways. As many of you know, the options volume for this Friday is also through the roof, as most of GME's monthly options are. What I'm hoping for this is that GME announces some kind of catalyst in the coming week that will make the whale who is not invested in GME think, wow, the stock is consolidating in this giant wedge pattern and is relatively cheap. Time for the chaos. Finally, we have the 420 LMAO deadline for the shares to be recalled ahead of the annual meeting. I have trouble believing that GME is not going to do something before that deadline to trigger a price jump because, as I said previously, they have vested interest in getting this above 190. Here's the wedge formation that the guy is talking about. This was the last squeeze. It is honestly shaped like a rocket, guys. And the next one, it will be a fat rocket. You guys see this wedge forming. And what he's saying, if we keep trading sideways, it won't be too good for the wedge. It'll take longer to reach the point in the wedge. If we trade downwards or upwards and break the wedge, then that could trigger something. That's why he is looking for a catalyst. Let's see. Finally, I said in a previous post that GME is correlated extremely close to the VIX. Many have said that it is inversely correlated with SPY, which seems to be true, but is even more directly correlated with the VIX. This leads me to believe that GME does not move when the market is bad, but GME moves when the market is volatile. And oh, would you think that SPY is at 412 and is overbought, and the VIX is at 16 pre-pandemic levels? Looks like the market is thirsty for some nice volatility. For more on this, I encourage you to read the Everything Short post, which provides a much more in-depth analysis of how the market could crash and how GME relates to that. Guys, drop a comment if you want me to do that in another video. I'll read that analysis. Here are the charts. The first is VIX, second is... Okay, so this is VIX. Looks pretty identical to GameStop. This is SPY. It looks literally the exact same. Yeah, guys, this is crazy. And we're going to go back up to the GameStop one. Look at this. She's comparing these three. This is some excellent DD, honestly, if you guys ask me. Okay, this is about to be over. Quick note on short interest. Just wanted to give my thoughts on the GME short interest. As all of you know, there are tons of different numbers on GME short interest. Correct. Everyone thinks that the things they read on Google, Yahoo Finance are all 100% accurate. That's not the case because they can hide this from us. Let's see what this guy has to think about it. Most boomers' websites say it's anywhere between 19 to 50%, which is still extremely high. Most apes say that it is over 100% at minimum. I personally believe that websites are correct because the data is being altered through ETF shorting, naked shorting, and synthetic longs. Therefore, I believe that the true short interest is over 100%. It makes no sense that GME's borrow rate on iBorrowDesk is below 2%, with short interest being able 20% and available shorts getting to below 100 at one point today. Also, based purely on logic, it doesn't make sense that if every boomer analyst thinks GME is grossly overvalued and that they wouldn't short it. So there is no way GME's short interest is anything below 50%. Therefore, I believe that they are indeed abusively shorting it, but they are using above tactics in order to manipulate the data so that the true short interest isn't shown, so that regulators and media don't start getting suspicious. There you guys go. This is actually going to get us more suspicious once we push it out to the media that their short interest is hidden, and once the squeeze actually finally happens, it'll be proof. Conclusion. So we have technicals lining up very nicely. A company with a vested interest in seeing the stock soar right now, a plethora of potential catalysts, a definitive date when shares would need to be recalled, abusive shorting, a failure to deliver cycle, and an insanely volatile stock that loves good news. A market that is thirsty for some volatility, and oh yeah, one more thing, some damn primates that refuse to sell stay strong apes. Wow. I like that, guys. I like this guy's DD. Scroll through some comments really quick. I don't want to make this video too long. Oh, look at that. We're already at 13-minute video. Alright, guys. I didn't want to make that too long. Pretty much, this is some good DD. You guys seen the wedge and the manipulation tactics and how these are all pretty identical. It loves volatility. And these dates, his analysis, his math, everything, take it with a grain of salt, guys. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. And if you like the video, hit that like button. And if you want to join the fam, hit that subscribe button. We have GameStop price predictions almost every day, and sometimes AMC price predictions every week. And we have more too, guys. I love you. Lottery stocks out.
I get you shot like a movie skit. One shot, he drunk like a hooligan. How we gon' get to this bag when we focus on gunplay, but trapping is all that we got. All of us gon' make it one day like church.